Hi, everybody. Thanks for joining us today. Welcome to the latest Q&A here. I'm at the Meet conference this year, virtual, of course, but taking the time to sit down with some of our best experts and contacts, our good friends from the Provisioner here, friends of the Provisioner. And today I'm sitting with Michael Uetz from Midan Marketing. Michael, thanks so much for joining me for a few minutes. I know everybody's got a busy schedule and you're no different. So thanks for taking a couple minutes.
It's my pleasure, Andy. Good to see you again.
You know, we're 1 year from the beginning of kind of the pandemic, at least here in the Chicago area and most of the country. You know, different places shut down at different times. 1 year out, what do you think are the big consumer trend takeaways from the pandemic in terms of what processors should be looking at, what they benefited from the most during the pandemic?
You know, Andy, it's been an interesting run. We've done a lot of research with consumers, trying to keep the industry informed of how consumers feel about their shopping experiences, particularly in the meat case, but also what's going on with their retail experience, what's going on with their food service experience. We started running our COVID-19 research in March and have done, I think, 9 versions, 7 focused on the retail environment and 2 on food service. What we're learning, or what we've learned, is that the challenge with safety continues to be real for consumers. Even though we're getting into a better spot with vaccinations and with all the protocols that everybody's put together, not only at retail but also through the system, as consumers are feeling like they're getting more information about all the efforts that are taking place in the production of the product. Consumers are still concerned, and that's something we need to continue to think about as we deliver product. I think some of the highlights that we see as we come out of this part of the pandemic, and hopefully out of at somewhat of the beginning of the end of the pandemic, is that consumers have now become very comfortable with options. Choice is a big thing for consumers, and when we used to talk about omnichannel, we thought we were going to start working as an industry to figure out the omnichannel. Well, we had to escalate the process of our learning curve in figuring out how to run the omnichannel, because that online platform that consumers discovered really out of necessity, because things locked up at retail back in March and April and there was panic shopping, they looked anywhere for product. And for the first time ever, we saw consumers say they were really comfortable. They became really comfortable in shopping for meat online, and that was a big change. I think that the choice in looking at going into a brick and mortar today versus figuring out some sort of an online option, whether it be click and collect, delivery, or even the direct to consumer marketplace, has seen a significant increase in not only people checking them out and or buying product to substitute for things they couldn't find in their grocery store, but becoming loyal members, subscribers to that platform. I think that we need to continue to think about the fact that consumers are now comfortable in buying meat in a lot of different locations. So we need to start serving it up to them in those locations. And it provides a challenge for us to figure out how to make that experience richer. It's about information. It's about doing what we were trying to do at brick and mortar all those years with point of sale and starting to offer online options and QR codes, et cetera. Now all of a sudden at their fingertips, they can get access to most any kind of information, and they're looking for it. And it's not just the younger generations, the millennials and Gen Zs that we're talking about, but now everybody has learned to engage online. So we need to shift all of our focus that we had in the brick and mortar to online as well. Offer up information. They're looking for product information, cooking information, recipes, cut information, still trying to educate themselves on cuts, but also looking for a meal solution opportunity. That meal solution is something we all need to keep in mind, and particularly as we eat, whether you're a retailer or you're a packer processor partnering with a retailer, you offering opportunities with the retailer to engage with the consumer for a solution, not just to cut any longer, but a solution, I think is going to heighten the connection you have with the consumer. And again, we're not just talking about cuts, we're looking at ingredients, we're looking at meal kits, we're looking at all kinds of different options for packer processors to add a little value, which provides value not only for the consumer, but for your retail partner.
Historically, people are the kind of most people tend to fall back to old habits, right? You know, they slide back when they're not faced with something like a pandemic anymore. Whenever we get out of it 100%, you know, they kind of slide back into old habits. Do you what does Midan see with respect to that? Do you think there's going to be a lot of sliding backwards, or do you think a lot of these at-home cooks are here to stay for a long haul, and what does Midan read on that?
You know, Andy, I think there's going to be, there'll be some adjustments. We're still trying to figure out, is there a new normal, or are we still trying to figure out where that is? I think it's probably in the latter part of that response, in that we're still trying to figure it out. But it's interesting, the trends we're seeing have been pretty consistent, and those trends would focus on the online platform. In our latest research, we did a COVID-19 research study in January, and consumers, over 50% of consumers said that they have continued to buy online, whether it's click and collect, delivery, and or direct to consumer. But 30% also said that they plan to use that as their primary method of accessing and buying meat and poultry products post-pandemic. Now, we always know that consumers say things and sometimes they don't do what they say, but I think the concept is that they're comfortable with that. They've become very familiar with it, and they're now in a lot of what we can benefit from is understanding their habits. And right now the habit is, I'm going to buy online. Perhaps I freeze some. Perhaps it's coming in frozen from direct to consumer, or in a click and collect. I can really sharp retailers are actually having their associates videotaping or actually do a FaceTime of the meat case and help them pick out their cuts. There's more education that's going on for what does marbling mean when you order a cut. Let's give you choices of what we're looking for. I think that consumers are going to continue to want more information, and I think that that's going to cause retailers to be much more aware of who their target is. And I think reaching back to their partners, I think they're going to look for more support in helping to serve up information. You know, another thing that we've learned is that health and nutrition, health and wellness is significant on the minds of a majority of consumers right now. They're thinking about their health and the health of others, particularly through the pandemic, and it's escalated in them looking for more claims-based products. More people are buying claims-based products, and they're actually hoping to learn more about the production process. How do you get a product moved from farm to fork? They're much more engaged and interested in that kind of information. So we've got to start tracking that information and serving it up on a label, on the package, on the point of sale, whether it's digital or in brick and mortar. We just did a national organic meat consumer survey in December, and we found that those who are looking for that kind of product experience, the numbers have grown in that respect. In fact, 10% of the meat and organic, or the national organic shoppers that we surveyed, said that they just started buying those products as the pandemic got into play, and they're continuing to buy as we continue throughout this part of starting to come out of the pandemic. So they become believers. They're looking for that kind of information, and we need to be willing and able to serve up that kind of information, because it really hits that sweet spot, not only for the national organic shopper, but also for shoppers in general. I need to think about my health and wellness, and it begins with one of my biggest purchases, and that's meat and poultry.